This is Kissing Frogs, a podcast about relationships and how they change us. I'm your host, Dr. Molly Burritz, a clinical psychologist specializing in relationships and women's mental health. With my guests, we'll share personal, heartfelt stories about love and loss, from the first spark to the messy middle and whatever comes next. So let's get into today's episode.
Okay, so if you have finally stopped kissing frogs and you've actually decided to get married, how do you survive the chaos of actually planning this wedding? There's no one better to talk to about this than Josie Santi, who is here on Kissing Frogs today. She is the brilliant wellness editor of the EveryGirl magazine and the host of the EveryGirl podcast. Now, she is absolutely going to spill the tea on her wedding aesthetic, but she's also going to tell us so much more. She's going to open up about her own engagement, starting with like the exact moment she knew her fiancé was the one. But she also talks about how do you stay sane during wedding planning? How do you manage your perfectionism before it turns into like criticism in your relationship? And she also talks about her very real fear of growing apart in her marriage. So if you want to learn how to focus on the actual marriage instead of just the wedding day, you are going to love this conversation with Josie Santi. Pop in your headphones. Let's get into it. Josie Santi, welcome to Kissing Frogs.
Thank you, Molly. I'm so excited to be here.
So you have, built this incredible career as a wellness thought leader. And so much of your content is what I call like holistic or integrative. You often talk about how self-care and relationships and self-concept, these things are all tied together and they all influence each other. And you're in a really exciting part of your life right now, which is that you're engaged to be married.
Yes, very exciting. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was December 2024 that we got engaged.
Okay.
So it's been a minute.
Yeah.
In the best way, though. I love a long engagement. I'm like, let me soak in. Let me be a fiance for as long as I can. That's the best part of it, is like just being able to enjoy it. Like everybody keeps saying, oh my God, are you so stressed yet? Like I feel like we all talk about wedding planning as it's such a stressful thing.
Yeah.
And I and my fiance made such a like promise to ourselves of like, we won't let anything stress us out, because the point of it is just you're celebrating your life commitment to the person you love. Like it doesn't have to be any deeper than that, right? Like that's literally all it is.
Yeah.
So I see going through the process how, of course, you get caught up in it and you're like, oh, I can't, that part's out of my budget that I really wanted, and I just always, or like this family member is doing whatever. Like, of course, there are stressful things in a wedding planning process. And I just made the decision, like, I will not let any part of this distract me from enjoying this time and being stressed out by it. And I feel like we should talk more about wedding planning, or even like this engagement period in that way, instead of, oh my God, it's so stressful. Oh, how stressed are you? Like, I think we're expecting it to be so awful, instead of, we actually don't have to let things bother us. Like, yes, there's a lot of decisions, a lot of opinions, but we don't have to let it affect us as much as we, I think, are programmed to believe we do.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's about sort of the weight that you put onto things.
Yes.
And your willingness to sort of take the hits or let things go and not be so attached to like a particular vision or outcome. Obviously, you want to build an experience and build a vision, but I think so much of the stress comes in when our vision doesn't match the reality.
Totally.
And then we end up like grieving and stressing out about it not being what we wanted it to be.
Yes. That's the best way to say it. And nothing, in my opinion, is worth sacrificing me being able to enjoy this time with my fiance.
Yes.
Like there's nothing that is, no vision that's worth sacrificing what could be a really great time.
And I love this because I think this is such a good example of like how, as a wellness thought leader, you bring your mindset into relationships and into life. Generally, is like the way that you look at things, the way you experience things, and how you operate around them really impacts your experience.
Yeah, thank you. I really obviously talk mostly about wellness and self-improvement, but relationships are the bigger factor to our well-being than diet and exercise. It really is. I mean, there's all the research in the world that shows that. And I also can just see that on a case-by-case individual basis. I can see that with myself when I'm in relationships, both my romantic relationship, but also relationships with my family members, with my friendships. If those things are thriving, my health thrives. If they're not, my health will suffer.
Yes.
So, I always talk about people will get really caught up in, macronutrients and protein and this HIP plan and all these things. But like, if your relationships are not as fulfilling as they possibly could be, your health will suffer, period.
That's right.
So relationships to me, like so different than what you do, but they are the most important factor of our well-being.
Yeah, they're foundational. And anybody who's been in a difficult relationship knows it's really hard to take care of yourself from that space. If you are struggling in relationship, the amount of bandwidth that you have left to eat well, to work out, to meditate, like everything contracts and becomes more difficult. So it's so important.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. Like you will literally not be able to, like, you could work out every single day and eat healthy, but if you're in a bad relationship, like your body will not be able to thrive.
So I know that you have been with your fiancé for like 9 years now,
9
right?
years, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I would love it if you would take us back to the beginning.
Oh.
And I want you to tell us a little bit about who Josie was 9 years ago.
She was chaotic as hell.
Okay.
To start. I mean, as I was 20 years old, as most 20-year-olds are, I was kind of definitely seeking approval a lot in men, in, thinking more about how can I be liked instead of what do I like, for sure.
Okay.
So I was in this place where I think it was just like immaturity, insecurity that a lot of us at 20 years old feel.
Or 47.
Or it carries with us later, for sure. And then I had gone to Paris. I went there for an internship. So I was just like working a lot, and I think just really lonely.
Paris can be a very lonely
Paris
place.
can be. Do you have a lonely story about Paris?
Oh my God. I lived there for 3 years and was so lonely. So lonely. I moved there for a relationship.
Stop. Yeah. God, this sounds like a good story too.
Yeah.
Tell me you're going to do a solo about this one.
I'll do a solo
Thank
about
God.
this one.
Okay.
Yes.
Can't wait to come back.
This is the guy who was 20 years older than me.
Oh, sounds like the beginning of a great rom-com turned really bad. It really, I don't know what, like I think it's like I spoke a lot of French at the time, but it's
not the same as being a native speaker.
Right. So I think there's that.
And the French it's true. Like the cliches are true that the French don't love Americans.
Totally.
And it's just, I think it's really hard to make friends in Paris.
Yeah. It definitely is hard to make friends in Paris, for sure. For sure. And it also felt like, oh my God, I get all these amazing, really cool experiences. And there's a lot about myself that I found, for sure. It was like such the cliche of spending so much time alone, doing the things I loved. Like I loved going to a restaurant by myself and having a glass of wine and reading. Like, I don't think I would have ever, like, I don't think still to say as a 30-year-old, I would have been comfortable doing something like that if I was not doing that. So it was so great for so many things. But I think I was just a little chaotic and lonely but also felt like I was like living my dreams too at the same time. So it was this weird dichotomy of like a bunch of different.
This is such an early 20s vibe.
It's such an early 20s vibe, 100%. So Joey, my fiance, he was a few years older. I actually didn't like really know him well at all. I knew of him because he was this like DJ. He was on the baseball team. Like everybody kind of knew him kind of thing.
So he went to your college?
He went to my college, yes. So, and he was in grad school at my college.
Okay.
So everyone just like knew him. He was just like the hot DJ baseball. But I'm like, that's a recipe for an F-boy. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I had like thought nothing of him. But he'd been like trying to reach out to me ever since the previous semester. And I kept being like, oh, he does this to like a lot of girls. Like this is just some like man-eater behavior. I didn't take it seriously. And then throughout the entire summer, he kept trying to reach out. He kept trying to ask for my number. I kept saying no. And then eventually in October, when I was in Paris, my ex-boyfriend, who again was like always my ex, but like we had this like toxic dependency, I think, on each other. Yeah. And eventually he, told me one day that he was really in a really bad place and like needed me. And so I stayed home and talked to him all night. And then I remember I like shipped him ice cream or something to make him feel better. And then he like ghosted me, like quite literally never spoke to me ever again. Like still have never spoke to him again. Wow. I think what happened was he got back together with this girl who was like, you can't talk to your ex-girlfriend. Like she knew about us, which I'm like, that was the best thing because I would have felt such guilt if I ever broke things off officially with him. So I was like really sad about that. And I felt this more than anything. I guess it was less of like, I miss him and more of this, I can't believe you did this to me after I put myself through hell for you for years. The rejection was the worst part of it. And
so abrupt.
And with no explanation. No, I kept being like, I need closure. And now looking back, I don't know if you feel this way as a therapist, but I definitely feel like closure, I've learned, is not something you get from other people. It's something you have to give to yourself. I think that when we say we need closure, we actually just want them to tell us, no, you're perfect. Nothing's wrong with you. I made a mistake. Like, we actually want the outcome to be different when we seek closure. Do you feel that way?
I totally agree. Closure is actually about wanting things to be different than they actually are.
Yes. You give yourself closure. No one else does that for you. So I kept, was feeling in that place where I think just felt really betrayed. So there was just a few weeks of that. And it was before going to a Halloween party. And eventually, I was drinking wine, getting ready in my apartment. And this guy, Joey, is continuing to message me. And I eventually am like, you know what? I'm lonely. I had a shot to my ego. Fine. I'll talk to this guy, see what he wants. Like, maybe it'll be like a fun distraction.
Yeah.
And then it just turns out, I was like, how do you know? I've never met anyone who asks such like great questions. Like, that was the first thing that I ever kind of realized about him is I usually am the person in friendships and any meetings with people who are like, tell me about everything.
And it's literally now your career.
And it's literally my career. Yeah. So it's like literally, I think, was such an important thing for me to be like, whoa, wait, you're asking me questions and you actually care.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how rare that is. And then we just ended up talking nonstop. We started talking on the phone. And then I was in Paris for another 4 months, I believe, after that. And the whole time we were like, we kind of like fell in love a little bit before we ever even got together in person.
Yeah. Okay. So what I love about this is this story of how he asked you all the right questions. What I really hear when you say that is when someone asks you the right questions, you feel deeply seen.
Deeply seen. I think it's a really hard thing to do. I think that's whether people are aware of it or not. I think that's why a lot of us go through life not really feeling deeply connected to other people. Maybe it's you have a friendship that you're like, yeah, I really like them, but I don't know why I don't feel super close to them.
Yeah.
I think that's it, is you don't feel like they care to see you and you're not seen by them.
Yeah. Well, it takes such attunement, right? To really slow down and see someone and you do this as an interviewer. This is something that you're so good at, to really slow down and see someone, to know enough to know what's the right question to ask to get at their heart.
That's such a great way to say it that I've never thought about it that tangibly. That's exactly what it is. That's the deepest kind of friendship you could ever have.
And how do you think, if at all, the fact that it was long distance those first few months helped or hindered you guys?
I always wonder, like, what would be different, because it's in one hand, it wasn't different at all when I came back to school in the spring semester, and it felt the exact same. We'd still, talk all night. And so it felt the exact same, but I don't know, because maybe we wouldn't formed of such deep connection right away, because all we had, it literally is like Love is Blind.
Yes,
like
totally.
All we had is like talking through a wall. That basically is what it is. We knew what each other looked like, but all we had was speaking like that. Like those conversations was the only form of connection that we could possibly have. And it did kind of transpire into our relationship. So I don't even know if that would be different, but I do think about that it definitely helped because we could form that connection purely based on conversation. I think it made it a lot deeper, quicker.
Yeah. And I think talking on the phone with someone is a very different experience than texting with someone for months on end. Oh my gosh,
totally.
I always tell my clients, like, do not develop these like weeks and months long text relationships with people.
No, I hear now how, so many of my friends that are on dating apps, I'm like, wait, they're just like talking to you on the app for so long. Like if it were me, I'd be like, okay, we can maybe have a quick, like, I'm going to suss you out, make sure you're not a serial killer. And then let's get together in person.
Yeah. Because when you're texting with someone, it just leaves wide open the field for fantasy.
Yes.
You know?
Oh my gosh, so much.
And texting also, because it's not a moment to moment thing, like you can come back to it. You can think about what you want to say. You can craft what you want to say. You can say it and delete it and try something different. And it doesn't have the same spontaneity and authenticity, in my opinion, as a phone conversation.
Yes. I think that's such a great way to explain how it's just not as like who they are.
Yes.
Like you can really like how someone texts, or you can also not like how someone texts.
Yeah.
But it gives you such a small view into who they really are.
Yes.
Yeah. The in-person conversations is everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So drop us back into now, you're back in school and you have had this beautiful love story with this man for months while you've been in Paris. And now you're going to see him in person. What was this
Oh my God, Molly, can I swear on this podcast?
Yeah.
I was shitting my pants. Yes. I was literally so nervous because it's so, I mean, especially at 20 years old when I'm like so uncertain about, you know, who you are as a person and all these things. Yes. And so I was so nervous. I kept convincing myself this was just a fairy tale. Like he's going to see me in real life, or I mean, he's obviously seen me before, but I was just convincing myself like this isn't going to be what it is.
You were afraid the house of cards was sort of going to fall.
That's exactly what it is.
It was all going to dissolve.
It was going to be just
real.
It wasn't real. It was. This was quite literally too good to be true. I was like, there's no way that, you know. So I kept kind of convincing myself, but I also really knew this connection we had. Can
I say one thing though?
Please.
When you say like you thought it was going to be too good to be true, the impression that I'm getting is not that you thought he wouldn't live up to your standard, but that maybe you wouldn't live up to his, right?
Exactly.
That feels important to me because it goes back to that theme that you experienced of like wanting to be chosen and like being sort of focused on getting picked.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think it was
that you were
ego.
like, oh, he's going to disappoint me.
Right. I think now if I had that, like now as a 30-year-old that, you know, I have this, I'm like, I know what I'm worth.
Yes.
But at the time, 100% I was, and especially like he was a few years older than I was. And so, you know, now it doesn't matter, but when you're 20 and he's 23, he just turned 24. I'm like, oh, there's like a power dynamic there that I was worried. Oh, he was also like so cool and he would, you know, date these like much beautiful women. And I was like, there's no way that he's actually gonna be interested in me. Wow. I know. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, you just really didn't see yourself.
I really didn't see it. Again, like I felt confident in like our connection that we had. Like I was like, I know that he, first of all, was like so obsessed with me. So I was like, I like hear what he's saying. Yeah. But there's I am scared that I'm not gonna be good enough. Yeah. And that the house of cards is going to fall. So I was just really nervous to, I was just so nervous going into it. It was the first night that I got back to campus and he was just so nice and wonderful. And we just danced and he would play the songs we liked and everything. And then he drove us home. Like it was just, it was an out of body experience because I'm like, I feel like this is the deepest connection I've ever had in my whole life. But it's the first time I'm actually with this person in real life, which was like such a weird experience.
Colliding worlds of something so familiar and so unknown.
Exactly. That's why I understand that love is blind, people, because I literally am like, I understand that where you're like, feel like you're with this totally new person, but then they're also the deepest connection you've ever had in your whole life where it feels more comfortable than anything else. So it's this weird, like trying to be like, how do we have this in real life now that we've had it for so long over the phone?
Yes, this is the human attached to the voice.
Yes.
I love this because you're describing such a beautiful organic love story that was very clear very early on that this was a foundational, deep relationship. So tell us about this 9-year timeline. What all happened in these 9 years?
Oh my gosh. I feel like everything and nothing happened. So we were together. We were in school in Florida. So we stayed there. My junior year is when we started dating. So I was there another year. He had just graduated from grad school, but he stayed there a year working while I was there. And then I moved back to Chicago for a year. He ended up moving to LA where we are now. So we did long distance for a year. And then I moved to LA, but we lived separately. I was very much under the guise or, you know, I had the idea in my brain of like, I don't want to live together before marriage, not for any reason about sex or anything like that, or like what's right or wrong, but really just because I was like, I love my own space so much. I love my individuality.
Okay.
And I feel like the only difference to me in our relationship besides marriage and not is just that we're living together. Like I already know that I will be with you every day for the rest of my life till the day I die. Like we're already committed to each other. So the only difference to me is living together. So the day that I say, okay, I'm ready to give up my own space and move in together, I feel like then we'd get married. So that's was my thought process. So we lived separately for a few years, and then the pandemic happened. And, it was like during the phase of COVID where it was like, you really don't speak to anybody or talk to anybody else. You don't see anyone. So it was kind of like if we want to see each other, he has to move in with me. And it was kind of like a note, like organically happened. He just moved into my studio apartment in Hollywood.
Oh my gosh.
It was so fun. It was like the best time ever. But I was like, the fact that we survived living in a studio apartment is crazy.
The fact that you describe that as so fun, I did not expect you to say is so fun, the best time ever. And
oh my God, we had
like a really good
time.
sign.
It was so fun. Like, I'm like, doesn't everyone have, I mean, obviously COVID was so terrible and scary and awful for a lot of reasons, but I'm like, it kind of was the best time of my life.
Yeah.
It was so fun. Like, we just got to like play games. We like made a cornhole thing and then we were like having, playing beer pong together. And I kind of got to this point where I was like, I just don't want to come home ever and have him not be there. And so that was I say like I moved in with him on accident because I really did. So then we lived together for, I think 4 years or 5 years, 4 years until we got engaged.
What have been sort of the real challenges for you? What have you come up against in this relationship that has really required you to sort of adjust or grow, evolve?
The way that we both handle any stress, like I have had to learn his stress response so much because when we get in an argument, his response is definitely to, I think a lot of women relate to this dynamic. He shuts down and he kind of goes into like, he has to go into his own space and own bubble. And for a long time, that felt like he doesn't care as much as I care about this relationship. Like he's shutting me out. And it still is something that still bothers me and we still work on it. And he even kind of gets this little like, I don't know how to explain it besides like his stress response is just going inward.
He withdraws.
He withdraws. Thank you for the therapy speak. That's exactly what I needed. So he's a very withdrawn person, but I also see his stress response like that when he was a kid and there was conflict in his family or something, that was like let me go to my room and shut the door.
Yeah, protective.
So I always have to kind of, I try really hard to think about that and to, I think be more, I've learned like this isn't about me, what he's doing. Whereas the first few years of our relationships, like I said, it was very much, he doesn't care as much as I do. He's not as emotionally mature as I am. And and maybe that's true in some ways, but what it really is like his stress response is different than mine. My stress response is like, I'm anxious. So I have to talk about it right away. And I have to know exactly how you feel. Yeah. I think I had this idea of, like love. I had this picture of love in my head all the time that it was like, it's going to be perfect. And I think we all kind of think that before we find our person is like, everything's going to be wonderful and great. And it's going to, and so I think that having these little moments like this, I also learned, he's not perfect all the time. He's perfect most of the time. But there's, of course, like sometimes in the 9 years where he did something. And I remember saying back to him, my future husband would never say that to me or would never do that thing. Like that would never. So you must not be the person that I thought you were.
You had an idea in your head of what it was supposed to be that wasn't matching your reality.
Yes. And I remember thinking after the fact, like, I need to go to therapy about this because I don't want to. And that was a problem that I definitely have done a few times of projecting, like, you're not being the person that I thought I wanted you to be instead of being really open to him being a human being and like getting curious about his feelings. Yeah. And that's something that we've worked on and I've worked on mostly is I think he's really considerate of my feelings. And I don't always think that I'm as considerate of his and like letting him be a imperfect human.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it sounds like you guys fall into this very common dynamic or pattern that's actually has a name. And it's called pursuer withdrawer dynamic.
Interesting.
Sometimes people call it demand withdraw dynamic. And so you're the pursuer in the relationship, which means, your response to stress is to follow it, to solve the conflict, to talk about the conflict. And it's probably harder for you to just sit with conflict and let it be there without
very impossible
solving it, right?
Yes,
You've
that's
got to
like
go
nails on a
after it.
chalkboard. I can't do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you both are having a stress response. The conflict is the stress, and his response is to withdraw, right, as a protective strategy. And the way that you're protecting yourself is to go after it. I have to solve this. I have to attend to this. We have to talk about this. We have to get this on the table. And it's like has this pressure vibe, right? That, when that dynamic gets played out, the pursuer can then cause the withdrawer to withdraw more. And the more withdrawing happens, the more you want to pursue it.
So true.
Right.
So then it's like the cycle.
The cycle.
Yeah.
And you have to, usually when we try to address this cycle, we have to start with the pursuer, and we have to help the pursuer tolerate the experience of discomfort more and have a little more patience, because that's like the first step is the pursuer has to pull back a little bit.
Oh, so I've spent my life being like, I'm not the problem, he is. So the first step is to be like, okay, there can be a little bit of space and it's okay. And you have to train your nervous system to be like, we cannot talk about it for an hour and it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can even like put your hand on your heart and be like, I have been with this person for 9 years. I can sit with this conflict for an hour and give him a little space to absorb it.
Yeah.
And we will have time to reemerge.
Yeah.
Right? This is going to be okay.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I mean, that makes absolute sense when you explain it.
I'm a pursuer too, so I really
You get it.
empathize.
Yeah, you get it.
Yeah.
And he always, like, if I do give him space, he always is the one to come back and be like, I totally understand. Like, he's always the reconnector.
Wow.
So as long as I give him that space, but I think it's just hard for me to remember a lot of times, like, that the space is okay. So even you saying that is helpful to just be like, oh yeah, that actually doesn't mean anything. It just means he needs some space and then he'll come back and it's okay.
Yeah. I'm so curious, because you had this idea of like, my future husband would never say that to me. Obviously, we all develop models of what we think the right relationships are supposed to look like. What was and oftentimes we get this from our parents, right? What was the model that you had as what a good relationship was that made you think a relationship is perfect, and when I meet the right one, it'll be totally perfect? How'd you get that idea?
I would say 80% from my parents, for sure. They have a relationship that I hope to have after, decades together, for sure.
What a gift.
I know. I think I saw them having this relationship where, again, from my perspective, no idea what happened behind closed doors, but that I feel like my dad was always very whatever my mom said, like he didn't kind of like fight back. And my mom might disagree because she might have been like, this wasn't how it always is. But from my memory,
what's important is how you experienced it.
Yes, how I experienced it. So I just kind of saw it as, if there would be disagreements, my dad would kind of just like not say much, is what from my memory. And so I think I just always kind of learned it as like the man doesn't have opinions. It honestly, I think is how I'm like, that's how a good man is because on the flip side, I saw these more toxic relationships where the man was really controlling. And so I thought that it was either or, right? Like you were not submissive. I don't want to call my dad submissive, but you were more on that side of like passive. Thank you. That's what I mean. Passive versus the toxic, controlling. And I thought it was one or the either with men.
Yeah.
So I think I, for one, saw my parents having this great relationship that definitely like gave me a lot of standards. So God bless that. Like I knew the kind of man that I wanted. I was never into the bad boy phase, never was into that. And then I would say the other part of me, I think just from this concept that I've always had of like life could be so perfect in every way. Like ever since I was little, I would like dream really big and, have these big ideas about life. So I think that just applied to relationships of, I can have this like Prince Charming that's like perfect in every way. And
I love that about you.
Thank you.
The dreaming big and like you can have the life that you want to have.
And amen to that, right?
Yes, that is such a beautiful quality.
Thank you.
And how could you possibly have the life that you want to have without a belief and a compass leading you in that direction? Like, of 100%. Course, you've got to believe it. You got
to believe it. And I've since the time I was little, I knew I would have this life, and I know now I'm going to have the life. I feel like I build my life brick by brick instead of just living on autopilot. So I still very much have that awareness, but then there's a little bit of the, if anything's not like it, then it's like it's almost like a perfectionism in relationships that I feel like that was more of what I was trying to deal with.
You get a little rattled if it doesn't meet your standard.
Yes, 100%. And it's hard to, and I had to learn this. It was hard to, at a certain point, like I think around like 5-year, 6-year mark or something. And I was like, I love this person so much. I love so much about him. I can't imagine life without him. But also, you know, he is as perfect as it could possibly be. And you kind of like get in your head. And I had to separate that perfectionism. Like it's my therapist at the time was saying that, because I also have like health anxiety.
Okay.
So I'm interested if you would kind of think this or say this. But so I have health anxiety. So I would come to her and be like, well, we had this disagreement. So if we had this disagreement, that means that he's not my person, right? Like, and she would be like, what you're doing is the same thing you do with your health anxiety, where you have a stomach ache and you think you have stomach cancer. You're having a disagreement and you're thinking that it means you're going to break up. And I was never worried about like him cheating for a second. I never worried about like us not being really happy. What my fear is that in 40 years from now, we're just not going to be happy. Like that's always been my fear. So I think I was trying to like self-diagnose in a way to like protect that from happening. That's what my therapist at the time said, was it's kind of like just your health anxiety in a different way.
And your anxiety, look, befriend your anxiety, because all it's trying to do is protect you from a bad outcome.
100%.
And what happens is it just gets too loud. It's just like it thinks it needs to. It's like a loud big brother that's creating fights, you know. And it's just
so
like
true.
Settle down. Like I got this. We're all good. We don't need to escalate everything. Life isn't so dangerous.
Yes,
you know, your anxiety is really just trying to get out ahead of you and protect you from any boulders that you think are rolling down the road toward you.
Yeah, totally.
So I think, you know, anxiety gets such a bad rap because it's such an aversive experience, you know, but it really comes from a good place of like your nervous system's just trying to protect you.
Yeah.
What I've noticed with, you know, people, including myself, who can be perfectionistic, is oftentimes that gets projected outward and we end up being critical of our partners. Would you say that's true for you?
100%. I think it's still something that I'm working on, like even today. And I was like, I know in my head I'm being critical of you and I know I'm getting to the point of nagging, but it's hard to stop. It's like a
really
sickness.
Hard.
Because you're really like, I know that you would be better if I did this.
Yes.
It's really hard for me to love someone so much and let them live their own life.
Yes. Let them be who they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing.
Yeah. We have an idea that the way that we do things is the best way to do things. And if other people just did it how we want to do it, then everything would be better.
Yes. And it would be. I feel strongly about that.
Yes.
But it's a really, it's a fine line because I'm aware that I'm doing it. And and there's some times that I've asked him, like, do you feel like I like unconditionally love you? Because I feel that you unconditionally love me, but I realize like I'm not really giving you anything that probably makes you feel that way. And so like that makes me sad when I realize that I'm probably doing that.
Yeah. Well, I think your capacity to self-reflect on all of that is such a beautiful trait. And it's a skill that will take you so far.
Well, thank you.
Because if you can self-reflect and say, ooh, I know I'm at risk of doing that, that's how you grow. That's the place that you grow from. You know that this is something that you can work on. You know?
That's self-awareness.
Yeah. And all you're doing is you are applying the same difficult, high standards you apply to yourself to the person you love the most, who is just one step away from you, just such a reflection of you. So it makes sense that you would apply those same standards to him.
Yeah.
You know, and like in fairness, you're hard on yourself probably, and then hard on him. You're not applying some standard to him that you don't also take on for yourself.
There's nothing I expect from him that I'm not doing first. Yeah.
So you know that building in more acceptance for how he truly just is a part of your evolution and how you can continue to grow in this relationship.
Yeah, 100%. And I actually have been thinking obviously a lot about our vows, and I'm so big on like for weddings, everyone do their own thing, but I'm so big on like our vows are promises to each other. They're not like our declarations of love. Like they're, and it's like promises that we are going to take so seriously of every day we're going to think of these vows forever. So I'm big on the vow part. So I've been thinking about like what feels different about what our marriage is going to be than what our relationship is.
Yes, I love this.
And
Tell us.
such a big thing for me is yes, I'm still going to have opinions and I'm going to vocalize when I need something, but I want to, I feel like he came into our relationship as the brave one. And I say that meaning like he came in accepting every flaw I had, everything that was potentially wrong with me, every issue I had. And I came in being like, you have to be this person and say this person. Yeah. And I want to enter our marriage as the brave one. Like, I'm going to cry a little bit thinking about it, but like that I want to, allow him a little bit more humanity than I probably allowed him in our relationship.
That's such a beautiful reflection.
Thank you.
Such a wonderful
goal. It means a lot from you.
Well, it's got me emotional too, like thinking about what you vow, and you have this beautiful long-term way of looking at who do I need to be to have the relationship that I want.
Yes.
And that shift, when you go from who does he need to be to have the relationship I want, to who do I need to be to have the relationship I want, nothing is more empowering. And it's not the right stance for every relationship, because sometimes you're in the wrong relationship.
Yeah.
But if you're in the right relationship and you still have some qualms about it, you still have some difficulties, which by the way, every right relationship has problems. Okay.
For sure.
The question to ask is, who do I need to be to have the kind of relationship that I want to have?
Yeah.
Nothing will transform it more.
I actually am not even just saying this in our conversation, because I asked you, I forget what I even asked you about what makes a long-term relationship better or something like that. And you said an answer similar to that of you have to think about who do I need to be. That was a huge turning point in my head. I'm so serious. Like I probably, now that I'm thinking about it, everything I've been thinking about now has probably become because of the way that you explained it when I had you on the podcast, truly. So it's so true. And I think that, I remember interviewing you about it and thinking, oh, I'm nervous for people that are in the wrong relationship because how, if they take it and think, okay, then that means it's all on me.
Yeah.
And I wonder like if the difference is like, I know if I change myself, he will change to meet that 100%.
Yes.
So if you change yourself and the relationship doesn't shift or they don't shift to meet you, is that how you know you're in the bad relationship?
That's an important sign. If you've done everything that you can do to change it and it's not changing, that's really important to know.
Yeah.
But
it's like the way to get out of a cycle when there's like one thing that you're nitpicking, and like everyone gets into a cycle in their relationships, right? Where like there's this same thing that's kind of resurfacing. And I think you saying that is like a huge unlock for me. And I know it is for so many people of that's how you get out of it, is you think of the person that you need to be. And that's how the dynamic shifts.
Yeah.
And that's how the other person then rises to meet that.
Yeah. That's really exciting.
So cool.
You're such a big dreamer and you're so inspirational for so many people. What are you dreaming of for your marriage, and what's next for you guys?
We think so much about this because, again, I think, especially one thing about wedding planning, if I may just go off on a little side tangent about it. Please do. I think so many people, you get obviously so caught up in the wedding that you're, doing everything, you're preparing for the wedding, that you don't really do anything to prepare for the marriage. Yeah. And I kind of feel like if we do that, like we've lost the plot, so I'm all for, like, I'm obsessed with bridal TikToks and I'm all over Pinterest. Like the aesthetics are my obsession.
Totally.
But if that's the only thing we focus on, like I've completely lost the plot. Yeah. So we were kind of talking a lot about like, what do we want our marriage to look like? Again, like I said, that's different than our relationship. I don't just kind of, I guess want to like wake up every day just hoping it's still going to be as good. I want to like make sure that it is. Yeah. So I would say like what I hope for our marriage is that we will work really hard on it every day to the point that when we wake up in 80 years, we're like good friends still. Yeah. I think both of our biggest fears for different reasons, which is interesting, is again, not cheating. It's not actually getting divorced. It's wake up one day and being like, oh, we don't really know each other. That's my biggest fear. And I think I've seen so many friends, parents that are like that, where their kids go off to school and all of a sudden they're like, wait, who are you? Like, I don't really enjoy you. Like, you get under my nerves a little bit. And so I think that I want to have that perspective every day of like, I don't want to take him for granted at all, that I get to that point and that I don't prioritize him. And I think that's another struggle we have for sure, is like, we're both so busy that it's, we got to a point for sure this year because we were traveling so much, and We got to a point where we're like, oh, we haven't, like, we're together all day, every day, because we both work from home, but we haven't like spent time together.
Yeah.
And our relationship was the first thing to deprioritize because it feels like it's the most safe,
Stable.
sure thing.
Mhm.
But then we kind of woke up and we're like, wait, I haven't like talked to you, like actually talked to you in
Yeah.
like a few weeks.
Yeah.
We need to like make this a priority again. And
Yeah.
it's hard because it is the first thing to go when life gets busy because it feels like the most secure thing. But then I don't
Yes.
want to wake up one day and be like, I thought it was the secure thing, but now it's
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
So that's my dream for my marriage, is that we're going to put in the effort of choosing each other so that we never get to the point where that foundation is lost and we didn't
Yeah.
even know it.
That's a beautiful dream. And I
Thank
think
you.
it's such a wonderful thing to aspire to. And I also want to encourage you to let there be space for it to not always be 100 out of 100, right?
I need to hear that.
Yeah. Every good relationship has ebbs and flows
Mm,
of closeness, connection, and some separation. And that's very, very healthy. You cannot always be like this.
yeah.
You cannot always be like this. But when you have like a healthy ebb and flow and like that can feel okay, then you can go through the ups and downs of life. Because you will have times when other things are a priority or take priority, necessarily so.
Right.
And this relationship sounds so secure and so safe and so stable that you'll be able to come back to it.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful goal to always remember to come back.
Yeah.
Remember to come back.
Remember to come back. Not that like you never leave,
Yeah.
but that you can remember to come back. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a reframe I need, because
Yeah.
I definitely feel that again, like with the anxiety of like when the ebb and flow of just like we're like a little more roommatey this week,
Yeah.
then my head is like, oh my God, what does this mean? Are we gonna we
Right.
gotta get, so I need to hear that of like that's okay,
Yes.
and remember to come back.
It's really okay. It's so normal.
Yeah.
You cannot avoid it.
Yeah.
Right? It's about the ebb and the flow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's as long as you flow back.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Tell us where you are, because I don't know if the listeners are anything like me. We want to know anything about where you're at in the bridal prep right now. Do you have a
Ooh.
dress? Like, just give us the tea.
Okay. I have a dress. I'm in the middle of finding all my other dresses, because of course I'm going to have like 10 different looks, obviously. You got to do it all.
Yes.
But I have like my main dress, my ceremony
Okay.
dress.
Okay.
It's over the top. No one who knows me is going to be surprised
Okay.
whatsoever. It's a big skirt and
Ball gown.
a ball gown.
Yeah.
And to the point that I'm like, I was telling the person at the bridal shop, like, no, stuff more under there. Like, so it's poofier.
Yes.
So it's, definitely dramatic.
Yeah.
And we're getting married at the Opera House in Chicago. It's gonna be like very dramatic. We want it to feel like 1950s Hollywood.
Oh, wow.
The reception's gonna feel like you're in a supper club. So we're so excited. It's been really fun to like bring just be able to like be so creative. Like it's so fun that I think everyone who goes to this wedding is gonna be like, that was so you guys.
Yeah.
That feels so fun.
Yeah. Are we allowed to know what month the wedding is?
Yes, August 8th.
Oh,
I'll tell you
we get the
anything you need to know.
whole date.
I'll tell you anything.
Okay.
Anything. Trying to like, as we get down to the wire, just like enjoying the
Yes.
process and finalizing all the details.
Hair up or down?
I think down. I'm an all down girl, but I actually just did a photo shoot last week and the girl put me in an updo and I'm like, wait, this is very bridal. So I think down for the ceremony or maybe up for the welcome party. I don't know. So maybe
a
switch it up.
change. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a hard decision. So I mean,
I know. You're going to look so gorgeous.
what did you do? Hair up or hair down?
I did half up, half down.
Oh, see, that's a good in between.
Yeah. And
so it's out of your face.
I'm telling you, the number of extensions I had in my hair,
Stop.
I made it like the biggest, most gorgeous hair of my life.
So I need extensions.
I mean,
because I feel like I do.
I don't know that anyone needs them, but I wanted them and I got them.
Did you get just the things that like clip in during the day?
No, I got
like
like
the
the
real
real full on thing.
I need that.
And it was totally
You've
worth
talked me
it.
into it. I need it.
And then I had them for the honeymoon, and that was so
Oh,
fun. And like
yes.
you just feel,
You just want to feel
I
your
felt
most
so
beautiful.
feminine. I don't know.
Yes, so gorgeous, like big, thick hair.
Yeah.
Okay, you've talked me into it. I'm going to get extensions.
Okay.
I'm going to be like, this is all because of Molly.
All right. I'll let you know who my person is.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. Thank God. Well, I'm getting so much out of this therapy. A hair extension girl.
It's been soul giving for me. So thank you for
Oh
being
my gosh.
here.
Thank you for having me. Honestly, what you're doing is so cool to give women the space to be able to like share. Like there's a lot on that I said today that I have never even shared on my podcast because we don't really get the space to talk about like who we were and what issues come up. And so thank you for giving the space. And I think it's so important that we talk about these things.
Yeah. Thank you for trusting me with it.
Thank you.
You know, I'm going to include in the show notes all the way that folks can get in contact with you, but how do you want listeners to know how they can best support you?
Yes. Thank you so much for that question. Listen to the EveryGirl podcast, anywhere you get your podcasts. And then you can follow me on Josie.Santi on Instagram, TikTok, TikTok's hard, but I'm there too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Molly. Thank you. It's so fun.
I'm Dr. Molly Burritz. This is Kissing Frogs, and that's our time for today. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Kissing Frogs with Dr. Molly Burritz. I want to hear your thoughts on it, especially if you loved it. So please leave a comment on Spotify or rate and review the show on Apple. Don't forget to subscribe while you're there. And if you think that a friend would enjoy this podcast, please share the episode with them. That's the absolute best way to help the show grow. You can find me on socials at Kissing Frogs Pod and at Dr. Molly Burritz. That's DrMollybUrrets. See you next time.